suspect!
Coming to get you, Bobber.
What is God Nards?
Paranormal Activity is a 2007 horror movie directed by Oren Peli, and it stars Katie Featherston and Mika Sloat. Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be doing the Paranormal Activity movie reviews for all the films leading up to the new movie that's coming out in October, Next of Kin. I was toying with the idea of doing it because I'm pretty strapped for time, but I've decided I'm going to do a review for all the movies. So this is the first in line. They are all going to be spoiler reviews, so if you haven't seen any of the movies and you want to be surprised, then please don't watch any of these reviews. If you've seen them, or if you don't mind spoilers, then continue watching. After moving into a suburban home, a couple becomes increasingly disturbed by a nightly demonic presence. Before we even get into the review, let me start by saying that I have a credit on this film on the Blu-ray. Unfortunately, it's just the US Blu-ray that I've got a credit for. Long story short, way back in 2009, I know this is a 2007 movie, but it didn't get a wide release until 2009. Way back in 2009, the Blumhouse, I think it was Blumhouse at the time as well, they needed us to demand the movie to come out in our city around the world. If we didn't get enough people demanding the film, then it wouldn't get a release cinematically, and I think that's just to cut down on bringing the movie out in cinemas that nobody was going to go and see the film. So they wanted to make sure that there was a high demand for it before they brought it out in our cinema. So I'm in Glasgow, Scotland in the UK, and enough people demanded the movie to come out in our city, so it got a release, and I happened to be one of those people. And they did say that anyone who demands it in their city and it was successful, or if it was successful, then we would get a special thanks or a thanks on the Blu-ray, and I'm on the Blu-ray, which is fantastic. I had to actually buy the US Blu-ray to see my credits on there. I think the credits are on YouTube as well. There's a whole list of people getting thanked, and I happen to be one of them. And I remember back in the day, I'm on IMDb as well, and I remember back in the day that I got my credit on IMDb. I was on Paranormal Activities thanks section on IMDb, but I think the list of thanks got too huge for IMDb, that they just basically cut everyone from the IMDb page, which is a shame because I had a really good credit on there with Paranormal Activity. Now when it comes to found footage movies, I think the last big found footage movie and the most groundbreaking one was obviously the Blair Witch Project from 1999, especially because it had a really low budget. Now this movie had an even lower budget. This had about a $15,000 budget, and it's all thanks to Oren Peli, because I believe that they filmed all of this movie in his house. The house that we see in Paranormal Activity is his house, or one of his houses if he's a rich man. But I find that bizarre, you know, that we can make movies for such a low budget. I know that the Blair Witch was about a $60,000 budget, and that's low for Hollywood, but I think it's still quite high for filmmakers who have literally no money. But a movie like Paranormal Activity, you can almost touch that budget, $15,000, and I think it was amazing that they've done it for that much. Now some people do like these horror movies with a lot of splatter, gore, lots of effects, everything in your face, and that's fine. You know, there are people that like that, and there are movies in the horror genre that cater for those people. I'm more of a simplistic person. I love the Blair Witch Project, one of my favourite horror movies of all time. So when we watch a movie like Paranormal Activity, it's very simplistic. Not a lot happens. There's literally almost no CGI, and it leaves you wanting. It leaves you having to think for yourselves. You know, you leave it to your own imagination, and that's what this movie does perfectly. You know, you've got to use your own imagination in this one, and I did. We've only got a couple of characters in this film, mainly Mika and Katie, and we don't go into Katie's backstory yet. So this is the first Paranormal Activity. We do get hints of her backstory with her sister, but we don't get a lot. We don't get enough to know what the story's about, but at this point in time, there is no franchise, so we're happy with the simplistic storyline. I don't like movies with lots of jump scares. I think jump scares are really annoying, and we do get a lot of jump scares in Paranormal Activity, but the jump scares were very well done. They were well built up as well. I don't remember there being a pointless jump scare. I think every jump scare had a meaning and a purpose, and even though some of the jump scares I knew were coming, I still got excited anyway, and I really liked the jump scares. Now we know that Steven Spielberg came on board and watched the movie and he thought that was fantastic, let's get this released, and they decided to reshoot the ending of the film, maybe just to get the franchise going and to give it that Hollywood look. Now I do like the Spielberg, as they call it, the Spielberg ending with Katie coming at the screen with that face. It was good, and I think it carries on in the sequels, which is fine, but I do prefer the original ending. I think there's 3 endings in total, but I do like the ending with the police officers coming in. I think that was more of a grounded ending and it fit better with the whole entire movie. But I don't mind the Spielberg ending, and I can understand why they went with that ending in the end. When you look at the premise of the movie, you've got 2 normal characters that... 2 seconds, guys. Sorry about that. So yeah, you've got these 2 normal characters sitting around doing nothing, and I think that premise makes you think, well, I'm not going to watch that movie, and it does sound boring if you're just reading it out loud. But for me, again, I like the simplicity of the film. I don't mind them just sitting around doing nothing, because them doing nothing still builds the tension for me, and I think that's why I like the jump scares. Like I mentioned, that the jump scares don't come out of nowhere, they're built up with that nothingness. And I'll be honest, it's not the scariest film I've ever saw, but I remember having one of the greatest cinematic experiences of my life. There was times when people were going to the toilet halfway through the film and when they walked past you, like, whoa! You just got a fright, you were on the edge of your seat, and then when I got home from the film, from the cinema that night, I couldn't sleep. And I was, 2009, I was about 25, 26 years old at the time, and I couldn't sleep, and it's because I was thinking about the film. Again, it's not the scariest film I've ever saw, but it leaves a lasting impression on you, and I think that makes for a good horror movie. Although this movie does nothing special in the found footage genre, I think it made the found footage genre popular again. I know that after the Blair Witch, we had numerous found footage movies after it that just couldn't replicate it, and then found footage died out again. And then you had the return of found footage with Paranormal Activity, and we got even more found footage movies because the cameras and the technology was more accessible now, and we know that you can make a movie for less than $15,000 and make it good. And I think that's why Paranormal Activity was the start of the return of the found footage movie. Overall, guys, I really liked Paranormal Activity. I know there's a lot of haters out there, not just for Paranormal Activity, but for found footage movies. And I think when it comes to found footage, Paranormal Activity is one of the best around. And I don't know what the hate is, and I can understand maybe some people not liking it for it being boring or not having lots of blood and gore. And if that's not your thing, then Paranormal Activity series is not your thing at all. But I really liked Paranormal Activity. It is one of the best horror movies, if not one of the best found footage movies of the last 20 years. So I really enjoyed this movie. If you've seen this movie, guys, leave your comments down below. Try and not talk about the other ones just yet, because I'm going to be doing a review for all of the movies. If you've got any comments about this one, guys, leave your comments down below and we can discuss it. And as always, I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.